Right, fantastic. Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning to those who've joined us from here in the US. المساء الخير لضيوفنا وزملائنا الذين ينضمون إلينا من الأردن. We welcome you to the sixth installment of our 2021 Women Empowered Leave Legacies Through Trade and Investment Coffee Chat series, also known as WELLTI. This series is focused on creating connections between women entrepreneurs in the US and in the Middle East and Africa region, with today's event highlighting tech opportunities in Jordan. My name is Natalie Hatour, and I'm a commercial officer for the International Trade Administration's US Commercial Service, and I'm based in our West Los Angeles office. For those unfamiliar with our organization, as the US government's trade promotion arm, we support the growth of the US economy by promoting US innovation, helping US firms scale globally, bringing investment into the US, and assisting US companies with their international market access issues. With a network of over 100 offices across the US and in US embassies and consulates in over 75 countries, we help US businesses in any stage of their international growth journey. Our team, starting with a domestic trade specialist, can help you through a range of resources and support, including international business strategy and country consulting, to global partner searches and due diligence checks. To find your local Export Assistance Center and industry-specific trade specialist, you can reach out to us through the contact information we'll provide after the event, and we'd be happy to connect you with your local office. Now, before jumping into today's chat, I wanted to quickly go over a couple of housekeeping items. We'll mute everyone's lines and keep videos off. However, to keep this as interactive as possible, please post your questions throughout the event in the chat box by selecting To Everyone, as our Q&A portion will be integrated into our panel segment. And we'll try to get to as many of your questions as we can, but if we don't have time to address your question, please feel free to follow up with us afterwards. At this time, it is my great pleasure to introduce our Deputy Assistant Secretary for the Middle East and Africa, Camille Richardson. Deputy Assistant Secretary Richardson is a native of Washington, D.C., and has served as a commercial diplomat around the world, including holding leadership positions in Latin America, Asia, and East Africa. Welcome, Deputy Assistant Secretary Richardson.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome, Natalie. Good morning to those of you here in the United States, and good afternoon to those of you in Jordan. It's such a pleasure to join everyone today to participate in our Women in Tech Networking for Growth in Jordan Coffee Chat section. This coffee chat is the sixth in a series of chats that we have organized throughout the Middle East and Africa. So far this year, we have held successful events highlighting women in business in Kenya, starting in Kenya in January. We then did a series in Ethiopia in March. We had our President's Advisory Council on Doing Business in Africa do an extra event highlighting women in business in Africa toward the end of March as part of International Women's Month. We did another series focused on women in tech in Morocco in April. We had a regional event with AmChams across the Middle East in June. And then we also had one in South Africa in August. So this has a series that has taken on a life of its own. It has been very, very successful. It's something that has become very near and dear to my heart. And it makes me so excited, even more excited for today's event, which is building on the success that we have harvested to date. So these coffee chats are just one component of our Women Empowered Leave Legacies through Trade and Investment, or WELLTI for short, initiative. And we designed this initiative to support women entrepreneurs in the United States to grow their businesses through mutually beneficial partnerships with women throughout the Middle East and Africa. We realized that women were among those hardest hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, and we figured by giving women access to information, data, resources, and contacts, and sprinkling on a little bit of inspiration, we knew that women could run with this information, and that has certainly happened to date. As an advocate for women's empowerment and entrepreneurship, this is something that I'm so happy to see is successful. I'm also super happy that our secretary, this has resonated very well with her, and she's very much interested in spearheading this initiative moving forward on our March to March. In addition to these chats, we're going to host large-scale events in the United States and abroad, and one of those being our Trade Winds event in Dubai, March 6th through 8th. and I have been conducting virtual visits to our 18 posts throughout the Middle East and Africa, and always ensuring that we have an opportunity to speak with women in business there to be able to plan future coffee chats. And I think we have one coming up next month in Ghana. In fact, this is a follow-on to the May visit that I paid to Jordan, the virtual visit I paid to Jordan, where I had the pleasure of meeting Rosa Lisi, the CEO of AmCham Jordan. She's on the call today, and we had a roundtable event back in May with the business community. I was also able to connect with Reem Khoury to discuss areas of potential collaboration in support of women-owned, women-led businesses. Later this summer, I also had the pleasure of discussing the importance of women's empowerment with Her Excellency Dina Kawar, your ambassador here in the United States, a Jordanian ambassador in the United States, and her economic team also here in Washington, led by Economic Officer Dina Uzobi, I believe is on the line today. So we're super happy to have our colleagues from the Jordanian embassy on the line. And having their support here in Washington is super valuable, and it will go a long way towards achieving our shared interests. And of course, my virtual visit to Jordan in May was timely as our countries are celebrating the 20th anniversary of the U.S.-Jordan Free Trade Agreement. Jordan is the first Arab country to have signed an FTA with the United States, granting companies in both of our countries enhanced market access and an expanded customer base. And the agreement has expanded the trade relationship by reducing barriers to trade, providing cutting-edge protections for intellectual property, ensuring regulatory transparency, and requiring effective implementation and enforcement of international standards regarding labor rights and environmental protection. And as a result, U.S. exports to Jordan have grown fourfold, from 317 million in 2000 to 1.3 billion just last year. And the growth in U.S. exports to Jordan since the signing of the FTA demonstrates the level of market access available to U.S. companies. And of course, we want to also see that happening in reverse. So we're always looking for creative ways to deepen our commercial engagement in Jordan. And in fact, our International Trade Administration here at the Department of Commerce recently signed a strategic partnership memorandum of agreement with the American Chamber of Commerce in Jordan to provide a framework to enhance assistance to American exporters and investors seeking to do business in Jordan. In today's coffee chat, you'll have the opportunity to hear from speakers and panelists in the United States and Jordan, and from both the public and private sector. You'll also learn about opportunities and challenges that the Jordanian market presents for commercial partnerships. And I have no doubt you'll find a wide spectrum of collaborative opportunities with the lineup we have today of inspiring Jordanian women trailblazers. First, you'll hear from our top commercial diplomat in the country in Amman. Her name is Janae Pierre-Louis. She's our senior commercial officer at the U.S. Embassy in Amman. And she'll talk about the Jordanian market and the opportunities for commercial cooperation, not only to pursue business endeavors in Jordan, but also the broader region as well. And the market expertise of our team in Jordan, our commercial service team in Jordan, and their access to partners such as the American Chamber of Commerce, as well as various public and private sector contacts, are invaluable for U.S. companies. So we hope that you'll take advantage of that following this call. This is for our U.S. exporters on the call. When I served as a senior commercial officer in the field, I was in Kenya, in Africa, I've been in India, and I've been in Argentina and Brazil and Latin America. I've always enjoyed the chance to interact with and learn from women entrepreneurs and SMEs, small to medium-sized enterprises. And over the years, I've seen that women not only participate, but lead to everyone's benefits in business. So women entrepreneurship and innovation in tech, especially these days, fosters strong diversity and socioeconomic inclusion, which is what we're all about here at Commerce. And I'm super happy to support the efforts that promote greater opportunities for women in this critical field. So I'm particularly excited to hear from our distinguished speakers today who are joining us from Jordan. We've organized this event to showcase the specific areas within Jordan's tech sector, which is one of the fastest growing sectors in Jordan's economy. We're looking forward to hearing the insights shared by Ruba Darwish, the Jordanian country manager of BMB Group, Sahar Mudanat, the the founder and creative director of 12 Degrees. Reem Khoury, the co-founder and CEO of WISE. Hadel Unatawi, sorry if I'm butchering your name, I apologize, the founder of Alchemist Lab. She's got a fun background there. And Maha Al-Said, the manager of Gate to Pay. Last, but certainly not least, a special thanks to our longtime partner, Amtam Jordan, specifically to Rosa Lisi, who will moderate today's panel discussion and is a strong advocate for women entrepreneurs in Jordan. I understand that all of you joining today's roundtable either have businesses of your own, are leading organizations that support women, or you are participating in a wide range of entrepreneurial ventures. I am extremely grateful that all of you have taken your valuable time from your very busy schedules to participate in today's session. And I look forward to hearing your stories, perspectives, pearls of wisdom, and inspiration for potential partners here in the United States. I'm going to close my remarks by thanking our panelists in advance and participants for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to the remainder of this coffee chat, and I hope that it will spur connections and conversation between participants from the United States and Jordan as part of this 20th year celebration of our free trade agreement. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deputy Assistant Secretary Richardson. I would now like to introduce our commercial counselor at our U.S. Embassy in Amman, Janae Pierre-Louis. Before joining the public sector, Janae worked in the private sector in Taiwan and Washington, D.C. She then joined the U.S. Department of Commerce, monitoring China's WTO compliance and coordinating small business outreach while serving as the Mongolia desk officer. Janae previously served in Ottawa, Paris, Baltimore, Taipei, and Shanghai. Over to you, Janae.
Thank you, Natalie, and good morning to all the U.S. companies participating in today's coffee chat. And thanks to our Deputy Assistant Secretary for launching the WELLTI initiative, as well as all the Jordanian speakers that you will meet momentarily. As you consider Jordan as a potential market, I'd like to briefly share some market insights and highlight some of the commerce and U.S. government resources that your businesses can leverage as you begin considering steps towards market entry. Next slide, please. Jordan is an upper middle income country with a population just under 11 million. Jordan borders Iraq, Syria, Israel, and the West Bank. Although Jordan does face some economic challenges and the economy has been impacted by COVID-19, analysts expect the economy to grow by 2% in 2021, and the interest in U.S. goods and services remains strong. As we move to the next slide, I'd like to share some of the reasons why Jordan is favorable for U.S. business development and should be considered by U.S. firms. First, the United States and Jordan share a long-standing bilateral relationship, which spans more than 70 years and is underpinned commercially by the U.S.-Jordan FTA. Since the signing of the agreement in October 2000, bilateral trade has surged over 800%, expanding commercial opportunities for U.S. and Jordanian businesses. The FTA enables nearly all U.S. exports to enter Jordan duty-free and to be sold at more attractive prices. Second, Jordan requires imports across a range of industry sectors, creating opportunities for U.S. exporters. In 2020, Jordan imported $18 billion in goods and services compared to exports valued at $10 billion. Third, U.S. goods and services and technologies are well regarded for their superior quality, performance, and reputation. U.S. brands are also well known. On business opportunities, you should know that Jordan offers U.S. companies export and project-based opportunities in sectors ranging from engineering and construction, defense and security, medical equipment, environmental technologies, consumer goods, and of course, technology-based sectors that many of your firms represent. Jordan's ICT sector is home to hundreds upon hundreds of companies operating in telecom, IT, online mobile content, business sourcing, and games development. Key partnerships in this sector can help yield opportunities to access domestic and regional markets. And finally, Jordan is also a strategic regional platform that offers stability for U.S. business interests in the Middle East, giving it a comparative advantage. English is widely spoken in business circles, and U.S. firms can leverage the regional reach of Jordan's business community to reach other markets, including those that may be more difficult to access. Next slide, please. Natalie already gave you an introduction of the commercial service. We're the trade promotion arm of the U.S. Department of Commerce's International Trade Administration. We have offices throughout the United States and around the world, and our goal is to help U.S. companies get started in exporting and accessing new global markets. At the bottom of the screen, you'll find a URL where you can search for your local U.S. Export Assistance Center by state. The Commercial Service Toolkit and resources includes 4 buckets of assistance: export counseling to help companies become export ready, market intelligence to ensure robust due diligence on partners, competition, and market potential. On business matchmaking, our office can connect your company with pre-qualified screened partners. I'd like to highlight that although American exporters are not required to appoint a local Jordanian business partner, we recommend that new-to-market firms consider partnering with local representatives, agents, and distributors for the purpose of monitoring business opportunities, navigating import and standards and testing regulations, identifying procurement opportunities, establishing industry contacts, offering after-sales service, and maintaining a continued presence in the Jordanian market. We also work in commercial diplomacy and advocacy to ensure that U.S. companies face a level playing field. Next slide. Our office in Jordan is comprised of a team of 5, and we're happy to arrange a consult to further discuss the Jordanian market. We also host an Iraq Partner Post program, so we work closely with the Department of State colleagues in Baghdad and Erbil on the delivery of services to U.S. firms. So we also welcome your inquiries pertaining to Iraq. Next slide. And finally, there are a number of other U.S. government trade-related resources that I would like to bring to your attention. In brief, the Small Business Administration helps Americans start, build, and grow businesses, and they are sometimes co-located at U.S. Export Assistance Centers. The Export-Import Bank is the official credit agency of the United States. So whether a small business needs working capital to fulfill sales orders, protection against buyer non-payment, or the ability to extend credit to buyers, XM probably has a solution for you. USTDA, the U.S. Trade and Development Agency, connects the U.S. private sector to infrastructure projects in emerging markets. And the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation is the government's development finance institution. While we aren't able to go into more detail at this time, we are more than happy to make the necessary connections with these partner agencies as you begin exploring opportunities in the Jordanian market. This concludes my presentation. As we begin to transition to the next speaker, it's my pleasure to introduce Ruba Darwish. Ruba is one of Jordan's leading IT figures. She is the Jordan manager at BMB Group and a board member of the Jordan ICT Association in Taj. She is a regular speaker in Jordan at a range of ICT events. And through her involvement with Intaj, Ruba has supported the role of women in the technology sector, along with helping technology entrepreneurs and incubators in Jordan. As a dynamic leader, Ruba has shown success in driving business strategies across multiple countries. She previously worked for HP Egypt and Levant, PC Dealnet of the ITG Group, and for Hewlett-Packard Middle East. Ruba, we are pleased that you're able to join us today, and I'd like to extend a warm welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much for the great intro, and I'm so excited to be here. Being a woman in tech in Jordan most of my life, understanding the challenges that women have, but also looking at the opportunity that the tech industry allows today with all the globalization and the opportunity to provide equal opportunity to women as much as men, and basically be able to push forward women in at least the tech sector and across the board. Today, I just wanted to share with you some insights about Jordan, who we are, what we are from a tech perspective. So next slide, please. I just wanted to start with our king. King Abdullah has always had a vision of having Jordan as a tech hub for the region. His vision was always to lead, provide new opportunities for the country and for the region itself by providing innovative approach and increase our ecosystem, our IP ecosystem and startup ecosystem. So we go behind his vision. It might have been hindered a little bit because of all the challenges that Jordan has had, but now we are on the right track, and we do look forward for this great collaboration with the US and this great relationship to push both the opportunity for the Jordanian market and collaborate with the US market to either invest more in the country, in the tech field, or access the neighboring countries. Next, please. So why Jordan? Jordan has a great location within the Middle East area. We have quick access to the GCC countries. We have access to Iraq and hopefully maybe Syria in the future. We have access to Egypt. And in addition, we have also access to North Africa, which I think is a great opportunity for the collaboration between US companies and Jordanian companies to push forward the solutions in that area. Jordan has a great entrepreneurship ecosystem, and now we'll have more insights further down in the presentation. Also, we have a great government and a great leadership, as I mentioned, that would support the tech field and give and provide incentives for any investors, and also to grow the Jordanian IPs themselves. Also, we have abundant talent. We believe in the Jordanian talent. We have a focus on showcasing the valuable know-how of our youth, especially in the tech industry. And of course, from a lifestyle perspective, Jordan is quite open, and I'm sure most of you who visited Jordan understand the balance that we have in terms of freedom of living your life the way you want to live your life. And of course, we have a very good and robust infrastructure, which I believe is key. We have fiber across the country. We are now venturing into the 5G. So I believe these are key factors for anyone who's thinking or looking to explore the Jordanian market. And of course, the most important thing is women empowerment. There's a big push for women empowerment in Jordan. If you look at our ministers, we have a great number of ministers, lady ministers. And now I'll talk a little bit more about the initiatives that we have to enable women in tech. Next, please. So just to give you a brief about the ICT sector of Jordan, we have 700 plus companies in the field. We have over 20,000 workforce. Gender, women is 33% versus male 67%. It's more or less within the average of most countries, but we're hoping to reach 50%, and that's our aim. Revenue today is up to 28 is around from the tech industry. We think that it's growing. Our internet penetration is one of the highest, and over 5,000 plus graduates from the IT sector. And I may say we have 50% of which are next. Thank you. So part of the incentives that the government has given is for the Jordanian IP companies. They've dropped down the income tax from 20% to 5% to give an incentive for more software houses and more IPs to be innovative and create their businesses in Jordan. They've dropped down the export tax to 0%. 5% is the interest rate, and 0% is the custom duties on any tech-related software or hardware solutions, which is honestly one of the greatest incentives for anyone who wants to invest in the country. And of course, 0% sales tax on any goods and services manufactured or done in Jordan. So just a brief of what initiatives is the Jordanian government having to increase the investment or in the tech field, internally and externally. Next, please. So this is just to show you the growth of the revenue from the tech industry in Jordan up to 2018. So as you can see, telecom contributes to 1.3 billion, and the 750 million are contributed from the tech sector in general. And this would honestly put a lot of focus on the value of the telecom in Jordan. It's not about pure telecom services, but also it's about data services. It's about being able to extend connectivity to the home, and later on have Jordan implement more of smart cities across the country, not only in Amman, but across the country, have fiber to the home, and maybe hopefully in 3 years to each and every home in Jordan. Next, please. So this is just a map of our startups in each and every market segment. I know it might be hard to read, and we'll be able to share the presentation later on. But this is to highlight that we have startups in edtech, cybertech, agritech, fintech, and many others. Our startup ecosystem is quite mature. We've been working on it for over 5 years. We have today a good number of support from different venture capitalists or accelerators to support the startup scene. We have also focused a lot as a country, as Intaj, the ICT Association of Jordan, on providing guidance by having different advisors, consultants to support the startups and put them on the right track. Some of these startups might be of interest for US companies to come and collaborate with, to either take their businesses to the US or actually explore opportunities to expand the access of these startups in collaboration with US companies within the region. So we have great talent and good opportunity to work together on with such different verticals. Next, please. I wanted to also focus a little bit more on the Jordanian Talent. So this is an initiative, it's a cooperation between the private sector and the government of Jordan, which shows great collaboration between the two parts. We've realized in Jordan that we have a gap between the graduates and what the market in Jordan and in the region requires. So a new entity has been established. It's called the DigiSkills Council. The DigiSkills Council is going to be focused totally on upskilling and preparing our grads for the labor market. We will be focusing on the main things to look at, like AI, cybersecurity, data science, all the key buzzwords or key skills that are required not only here but globally, and where we have an issue with the resources. The more the technology is evolving, the more resources are needed. So this council is going to be totally focused on that, and it's a collaboration between private public to ensure full alignment and ensure that the graduates of this DigiSkill Council are as per international standards when it comes to the skill sets that are required. And this is another thing to look at, to collaborate on between the US and Jordan. Next. This is my baby, if I may say. SheTech is a Women in Tech Enablement initiative that started in 2018. I'm the patronage of Princess Sumaya. This initiative started and is purely empowering women in the tech field. We managed to train 14 in Jordan and one of the governorates on the most required skill set, which is mainly coding. I think that's both Java and other highly requested skills in that field. We graduated these 40 women in March. Most of them are with engineering backgrounds. They've done their master's degree, but there was a little bit of a gap. So we worked on the gap. We worked on the software skills. We worked on the entrepreneurship skills, and we pushed forward this program. This program is going to go national within the year. Next. So this is just to give you also a flavor of why Jordan is important and about the importance of our talent. These are examples of regional centers that are in Jordan. We have Souk, Amazon, we have Cisco TAC. Cisco TAC has over 1,000, I think, 1,000 plus employed Jordanian engineers hired. We have Microsoft, we have Expedia. Next. We have Emo, Huawei, Samsung, and many others that find Jordan a perfect place to set up their technical or support centers. They find that our talent is extremely attractive. They are bilingual. Their English is quite good. Their Arabic is without an accent, which serves the GCC countries and Arab countries in the region very well. In addition to the skill set and the know-how and the experience that they're getting, and the support of the government to bypass challenges that they have. Next. So where is the opportunity? So the market opportunity lies in having the collaboration between the Jordanian companies and the US companies in accessing neighboring markets like Iraq. Jordan and Iraq have always had great relationships, and we believe that with this collaboration, we're able to help Iraq actually become a leader in the tech industry. US has the best technical experience and the number one companies in the tech field. And we believe this collaboration can create an opportunity for both. We also look at the collaboration on if we focus vertically on the different solutions that our companies may bring in the ed tech, and of course Arabic localization, which I think over 70% of which is done in Jordan. Fintech, and I know my colleagues are going to talk more about the fintech and the fintech industry and what we are able to propose. Health tech, gaming. I'm sure, I don't know if you heard, but recently one of the gaming companies in Jordan called Jawaka was sold for 250 million US dollars. And of course, the cybersecurity part, which is a really great opportunity. We all know and believe in this field. We as Jordan are focusing a lot on cybersecurity and pushing forward our Jordanian IPs to focus on it more. We have newly set up our Cybersecurity Council, and we believe in the full and total collaboration with the US, especially that President Biden pushed heavily on the importance of cybersecurity. Next. And this is my final slide. Again, I focus on the number of tech grads. We have 50% of which are women. So women empowerment, outsourcing opportunities, especially for women in the governorates, who are not able maybe to get to choose where they work. But with the tech industry and the globalization and the digital acceleration that Corona has, in a positive way, created, we are able to extend work opportunities for these women in their homes. to help them support themselves and their families and actually become more independent. I believe that mostly I have covered most of the points that we as Jordan believe is our key area to bring more investment from abroad and have a great collaboration with the US companies. I think with that, I conclude my presentation. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Ruba, for that informative presentation covering Jordan's ICT landscape. Just one quick question in the considering the time. Can you talk a little bit, the ICT sector in Jordan stands as one of Jordan's greatest strengths. It witnessed 6% growth during the pandemic. What was the impact on COVID-19 on the ICT sector in Jordan? And more specifically, how and why was this sector able to witness continued growth during this economically challenging period? If you could provide us with a very brief response, that would be great.
Okay, thank you for that question. So actually, we got hit like the rest of the countries globally, but I believe again, Corona created a digital acceleration. So it helped us look at things in a positive perspective. Most companies realize that they can work remotely. So this is a push forward towards creating more opportunities for women, again, in the governorate. So this is one key area. Companies, the telecom was able actually to survive very well because internet access and services and data was a must-have during this tough time. We managed to accelerate our sales in general in the cybersecurity area because when you work remotely, you need to focus on that part. And I think we realized that the technology is bringing great opportunity because everything can be done remotely. So yes, it got hit a little bit, but from the other part, it had a positive impact on this sector.
Thank you so much for that response, Ruba, and for your presentation and participation today. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our moderator for the panel discussion. Rose Alisi, our panel moderator, is the CEO of the American Chamber of Commerce in Jordan, a longstanding partner of our office. And with more than 24 years of experience in leadership positions in trade promotion and capacity building, Rose helped solidify AmCham Jordan's presence in Jordan. She previously worked for Jordan Dubai Capital, International Affairs Promotion of Jordan, UNDP, as well as being a consultant for USAID. And our honored speakers, Reem Houri. Reem is the co-founder and CEO of WISE, an impact analytics software company. She serves on numerous boards and is a faculty member at the Amani Institute in Nairobi. In 2019, WISE was selected by the World Economic Forum as one of the top 100 startups contributing to the fourth industrial revolution. She has been recognized as one of the world's top 100 most influential Arabs under 40 by Arabian Business Magazine and was selected in 2018 as a young global leader of the World Economic Forum. Hadil Anabtawi is the founder of the Alchemist Lab, a social enterprise offering learning experiences for children focused on creative and critical thinking in STEM. As an award-winning leader working to advance education and gender equality, Hadil has been recognized with the We Empower Award and the DVF International Award for dedication to empower young girls and women in Jordan. Sahar Madanat is the founder and creative director of 12 Degrees, an award-winning design studio focused on product design innovation. She is considered a pioneer in product design as one of the most awarded product designers in the Middle East. She has worked with regional and international clients in developing successful products that are sold internationally. She is committed to developing new talent and inspiring design thinking. Maha Al-Said is general manager at Gate to Pay, which offers creative and secure FinTech 360 solutions that can be personally customized to meet business needs. She previously worked for the National Bank of Abu Dhabi, Cairo Amman Bank, and the British Bank of the Middle East. As a leader in the fintech space, Maha executed a vision to empower entities and businesses of all sizes to better monitor and control financial transactions. The business growth that her company has witnessed, including successfully expanding internationally in such a short period of time, is beyond impressive. So I would now like to turn the floor over to Rose to moderate this portion of the program. Over to you.
Hello, everyone. It's such an honor to be moderating this session. We're very grateful for the support of Das Richardson and the U.S. Commercial Services in Jordan, our great organizers. And at the same time, it's an honor to be moderating a session featuring such wonderful women who really represent the talent that we have in Jordan, with very strong, talented, and creative entrepreneurs. Janae shared with you the type of panelists that we have for you to see that we're dealing with a level of companies that is mature and that has expanded within the region and sometimes in other countries, including the US. I want to start the session with a question to Reem, but as a CEO of the American Chamber of Commerce working on developing economic relations between Jordan and the US, as Janae mentioned, the cornerstone for our relationship is the free trade agreement. And this opens a lot of doors for us. But the basis of everything that we do is creating a win-win situation for Jordanian and US companies to collaborate in order for them to be able to bring results and benefit both economies, creating jobs and supporting women in business. So Reem, there are many ways in which Jordanian and US companies can elaborate finding business opportunities, both in Jordan and if we're considering the region. For US companies in tech looking for a partner in Jordan to access the domestic market and regional markets, as you mentioned, whether Iraq or others, can you discuss how partnerships can be attractive in a win-win context, as I mentioned, for both Jordanian and US companies? And are there any specific scenarios that you can share where you represented a US firm's interest in Jordan or collaborated on an opportunity to serve clients in a third market? Reem, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rose, and thank you for the honor to be here and to be amongst friends. There are a lot of familiar faces from the panelists. I think I can talk about our experience in creating and crafting partnerships, right? So as a company that started 3 years ago, when we wanted to expand into other markets and when we wanted to provide better value to clients, we thought, why don't we create a strategic alliance network of partners so that we can all add additional value to our clients, so that we can support each other in entering markets. And so we partnered with American companies to provide services that are essential to the transformation journey for the client, but aren't necessarily core to what we offer as a service, but we provided a full-fledged journey for the clients. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, some US companies we worked with were interested in the Saudi market, and we're interested in Egypt, and we're interested in Jordan. And so there was also a lot of collaboration on having a geographic partner that allows them to access those markets, and vice versa. When we needed to even submit a proposal and they want, there was a requirement for us to be a US company, we submit through the partner, vice versa. But I think one of the most interesting partnerships we've dealt with was about designing and creating a product that is inclusive, right? So we're in the impact data analytics space. You don't measure, if you want to create a product that is just MENA-centric or US-centric, then you define how you measure diversity and inclusion or poverty a certain way. But if you want to build a global solution, then you need to add all these cultural contexts to the content, to the product design, to the product content. And that's where we actually partnered and where we saw a lot of value when the partnership is also on product development and product design, so that you can truly be creating an inclusive product and so that you can truly build a global solution versus a MENA-centric solution or US-centric solution. And the final piece, I think, on and the partnerships was and I think it's one of the most important elements of it, is especially in our sector, because we don't have one definition of impact standards, is actually partnering with organizations and thought leaders in our sector, in our space, to advance common agendas towards sustainability and impact. And I think that's also very key for partnerships, the advocacy component.
So much. Thank you so much, Reem. This is extremely important, and using your own experience is just testimony how this thing can work. We're very, we have time constraints, and I would like to really elaborate more and hear from you more, but I want to jump to Hadil and talk about business partnerships that come in different forms. So we have private sector companies, from talking about private sector companies to non-governmental organizations and academic solutions. You had a great success story as Alchemist Lab because you have at least one partner with a partnership with a US university. For the audience that we have, those working in the tech space, can you tell us about this partnership and how it was developed, and how is it mutually beneficial for you and for that university? Hadil, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rose, and I'm happy to be among these wonderful women from Jordan and to share my experience. Actually, the Alchemist Lab, as it was introduced, we focused on STEM for the young generations. And basically, because we do believe that these skills that they are needed for the young generations in order to compete globally. Our focus shifted over the years from giving activities directly to kids into providing solutions to educational institutions, to schools, and to teachers in particular, and educators. So we've seen throughout the years that you can provide skills for kids and activities for kids directly, but unless you provide upskilling for the educators and teachers at schools in order to be able to cope with the like fast changing ed market, educational market, any solution wouldn't really succeed. So the Alchemist Lab offers activities for children and offers training for educators. And this is where we started to look for opportunities to upskill teachers in Jordan and outside Jordan. We do believe that part of the upskilling is connecting teachers to a global community and global network. And this works both ways, educators from Jordan and educators from the US. So we've been doing educators training throughout the years in Jordan, our own programs. And lately we've signed an agreement with the University of Pepperdine in California. And basically it was an accreditation for our educators training program certificate. It's a new agreement during 2021, and the launch of the program will be in October. The idea of this program that we connect global educators together, and we provide a certificate for educators, and it's not only on tools of STEM inside the classroom. It's about global leadership, it's about creativity and entrepreneurship, it's about social entrepreneurship for educators in order to develop social initiatives inside their schools and their classrooms to make a change in their spaces. It would be beneficial for Jordan, I would say, this is the advantage of the EdTech solutions in general. It will provide access for women and educators. I say women because it will empower women as teachers, also because we work with Go Girls specifically for girls. So we focus on women educators, and also for male educators. It will provide them with a certificate that will help them enhance their careers and will connect them to educators from globally. And for the US or for the university, it will enrich their global partnership program programs, and also it will enrich access for their students to global leadership and global communities and global education. So this interaction between both sides is very beneficial for both parties, and also beneficial financially because it's a revenue sharing agreement between both.
This is exactly what we would like to hear, a win-win situation where there is real transfer of knowledge, there is opening up to global markets, and really benefiting from the experience of both you know, the universities and the scene, the edutech scene there, and of course in Jordan. It's good to point out.
Sorry to interrupt, Rose. We'll be helping the university to access educators from the Middle East, because this is our space, and they will help the certificate of the Alchemist Lab to reach global educators from the US. So it's a mutual win-win, as you said, agreement.
This is an amazing success story, and we feel that there are so many more opportunities that we can explore in the edutech space. Collaboration can happen at different levels. We have a science and technology cooperation with the United States, and we have a lot of, we want to try to link academia to the private sector, and this is a good example in the education space, but this can happen in other sectors also, where we can benefit from the R&D of these universities and link them, especially they have special programs to support women. Moving on to a different sector, talking about fintech. Maha, as well as all the speakers that we have, is a star in terms of establishing Gate to Pay. This is a fairly young fintech company, yet it witnessed unbelievable growth in Jordan. Maha, from your experience, what tips and best practices can you share with women entrepreneurs, you know, seeking to succeed in the Jordan market? Can you elaborate, please?
You're muted.
Maha, we can't hear you.
Hear me now?
Yes, it's not very clear, but if you can raise your voice.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Rose, and thank you for the organizers, because such events are crucial for the empowerment in itself and in learning and interacting with similar roles and similar people, and of course proud to be among such successful women in the same panel. Of course, a key word that I always say, challenging yourself and learning and going into the future has a lot to do with keep on educating yourself, learning, adapting to new changes, to new innovation, and learning from others. So a big problem is that being stuck in a phase or in a status where you think that you have learned and got it all and acquired it all. So my first step is actually always to seek new learning experiences. An important part as well is always look for gaps where you can actually solve and add value to as an organization or as a company or a fintech or any similar experience. And a very important thing is basically empowering each other. We always have to ask the question, are we really empowering each other as women and as VCs, as companies, as empowerments, as interactions? We always, I do believe that sometimes the first stop of empowerment is us as ladies, as women, empowering each other. Lastly, and a very important part I would like to really stress upon is having a strong team that actually you can build on in taking your company to the next level, delegation. And today, luckily, it's not about only on premises. There are a lot of initiatives where you can actually build on capabilities of women in so many areas, whether inside Amman or in other areas, to actually build a better ecosystem for them and for yourself as a company to take it to the next level. So it's all about communicating well, learning, and of course, part of the empowerment is actually learning from other countries and their experiences. We do believe that a lot of our world as fintechs is actually ahead of us, like in the US. So having such interaction and seeing how we can see collaboration is a big part of it as well. Sorry, can you hear me, Rose?
Yes, thank you so much, Maha. I'm glad that you touched on the issue of women supporting women. You talked about talent, about teamwork, building a strong team that will bring in all the new ideas. And mostly, I am very happy that you touched on the cooperation and learning from each other's experience. The access to knowledge and technology from the relationship that we have with the US is a very important element of what we do. And I believe that we both can bring value to each other, but it's just strengthening and institutionalizing these relationships where we give the opportunity for those startups and businesses to access that type of information from the States. We have a lot of companies that we work with where we're linking, for example, product designers and artificial intelligence experts, blockchain, and so on, with Jordanian companies who are seeking, partners in the States. So it's extremely important that we focus on a partnership that will translate into not only revenue generation, but also technology transfer and win-win setup, as we mentioned. I want to move to Sahar. I'm very excited about what Sahar does because it's not the usual type of startup. Sahar basically is a designer, but she works on a different type of design. So I want to ask Sahar, as some of the US business executives in our audience today, they consider Jordan to be a market for their products, services, and technologies. Can you talk about the importance of understanding the Jordanian consumer habits and preferences so that they can achieve a successful market penetration? And perhaps you can also share some experience, examples of cases, both successful and not successful, of companies who tried to access the market and didn't really understand the market trends and the preferences of the consumers. Sahar?
Thank you, Rose. Yeah, so when I established 12 Degrees, one of the main driving motivations for me was exactly what you just mentioned, that there wasn't really a lot of R&D happening in the region. People were not looking at products from the user as putting the user as a center, and I'm talking about like the Middle Eastern user, right? The Arab user. What are our habits? The cultural influences on Middle Eastern habits. We've gotten so used to importing all these products and services from abroad, but there was nobody really speaking to the voice of the Middle Eastern user. So what we do as designers, the first thing we always ask before we solve any problem is, okay, who are we designing this for? What are their pains? What are their gains? How can we make this product or service more desirable for them? And when we started looking for that information, we realized that data isn't there. So it's extremely important to know who you're designing for before you initiate, or think about entering these new markets, and or going under the assumptions that, for example, the 25-year-old male in the US would be very similar to, or has the same motivations or incentives as a 25-year-old living in Jordan. Probably he's out of a job and working, living at home still. So, there's a lot of differences there. And so we've been generating that data. We've been doing a lot of user research. And that's the kind of qualitative user research that really drives innovation and drives these new ideas, and that would really help users. And we recently started collaborating with companies abroad that want to have those insights into the Middle East. So one example is a company called OXO. Maybe some of the US participants here know them. They're a really big global US consumer product company. And they really intrigued to know what are the, let's say, cooking habits in the Middle East. And so that was a very interesting collaboration between us and them, where as designers, we were looking at people, in Saudi or the UAE or in Jordan, cooking, buying groceries and how they, what they do at home. And so that was an amazing experience, for us, but as well for them, because they were surprised by so many things that we take for granted, or are assumptions to us, and we know that these are habits. And for them, they was very insightful. And so when a company like that starts to think about entering the Middle East, this kind of insight, this kind of cultural relevance, and having that knowledge is very, very important.
Thank you so much, Sahar. I'm so glad you mentioned this, because for the success of any tech business, user experience for any product or service is extremely important, and understanding your market, your consumers, and the context of that country is also very important. That brings us to the fact that we always need more information. We need better understanding of the target market. Therefore, I want to go back, talk to Reem and ask about the fact, about due diligence. For entering any new international market, we require due diligence. Now, we all know that the U.S. commercial services, as Janae mentioned, is a key for us to understand any new market. And in Jordan, they do a great job in actually supporting any American company wishing to understand the country context, the opportunities, and specifically talking about looking at Jordanian potential partners and the due diligence. Now, what additional suggestions can you provide on strategies where women-led businesses in the audience can use to uncover opportunities in the target market, specifically in Jordan?
Thank you, Rose. So I definitely agree. I think one of the best things about looking at the partner is how much context are they going to bring to the business that you're trying to do in the market that you're trying to enter. I think the less obvious due diligence that is so critical to success are elements, at least in our sector, in our case, are very important, which are related to the values of the partner, the principles that they abide by. I go always back to ESG, their environmental policies, their social policies, their governance structure, the way they treat their employees, the way they manage. Lately, in the past year, and I think that's true for the US as much as the Middle East, is where do they stand on social justice issues, right? How vocal they are about Me Too, about Black Lives Matter, about what's happening in Palestine, etc. I think these are very important today, and in the future, we'll find them even more important, because these are the customers of the future, the employees of the future. And I think that we focus a lot, what I call, and maybe it's not about due diligence, but I call them as prerequisites for a partnership, right? So I need to know your financials, I need to know your legal status, I need to know your cap table, etc. Fantastic. But I think the less obvious, but so critical for success, is everything related to environmental, social, governance, and values, and including in the values where you stand on a lot of the very important topics that matter to the customers and to the employees, and frankly speaking, to all of your stakeholders, investors, donors, etc.
Thank you so much, Reem. What you mentioned is extremely important, and at the end of the day, for us, there are many channels that would guide us in order for us to be able to enter the market. The U.S. Commercial Services work very closely with different entities, organizations. Our partnership actually with them is a testimony of how they also include the private sector for our members to tell the story of Jordan. So what we do is connect companies with other companies in the States, and it's the biggest testimony of something that works. So they are likely to hear from each other than they are than to hear from a presentation that they've seen or a document that they've read. It's always the business person telling its story, and hopefully a woman here telling her story of success. I wanna go now to an area that is like really interesting with regards to having mentorship, developing talent in Jordan, and so on. I want to go back to Sahar, and I just want to mention that, for example, I just read something very interesting about the Global Competitiveness Report back in 2019, developed by the World Economic Forum. Basically, they said that Jordan, out of 141 countries, is number 24 in access to talent, like being able to identify, they call it ease of finding skilled employees. So that's testimony that the talent is there. It's just a matter, how do we work with them? So for US companies looking to do business in Jordan and that are seeking business partners to represent their interests, professional credentials are also very important considerations. You actually engage in mentoring, like the other ladies on the call also, and developing talent in Jordan. Can you tell us about the Jordanian workforce, how the pool of talent is differentiated, and what does that mean for US companies interested in accessing the Jordanian market? What role does this talent, that pool of talent, plays?
I mean, I can only speak from my experience and, the part of the workforce that I mentored and spoke to. I cannot, follow Ruba's slides and, all the statistics that she gave us. But what we did is, at 12 Degrees is, we worked with a lot of startups, maybe hundreds of startups, and mentored people in different professions, financials. We spoke to CEOs, managers, for example, civil workers in Gaza. And the focus has always been on helping them using design thinking as a methodology to troubleshoot and improve their products or services in ways that it would be a better market fit for their customers. So that's always been our focus, and we really did find a gap in that, and that could, that could have many reasons, and it could be, educational or cultural. But what we did find, though, that there's a lot of talent and many highly skilled and qualified technical people, but don't know how to turn their ideas into some like a feasible business idea or a way to scale it. And so that's where we feel that the design thinking approach really does help, because it's very iterative. It's it's about prototyping and testing and talking to people and not being shy about making mistakes and just getting things done and iterating as you go. So in that sense, I do feel that there's a lot of potential, and there's a lot of highly skilled individuals in the Middle East, in Jordan specifically. But where I feel that there could be improvement is having the right experience or the design thinking approach of building that skill set. Sometimes I feel isn't there. And so that's like kind of what we've been doing to kind of develop that, and just to give them that step forward, to launch their idea and product.
Thank you so much, Sahar. There's so much more that we want to discuss, but with the constraints of time, I'm just going to throw, one question again to Maha. In Jordan, approximately 19% of businesses have female co-owners, and only 4% have female majority ownership. How hard is it for a woman to begin a business and then to succeed in Jordan? What do you think? Even, the challenges sometimes are all over the world. What do you think are the main challenges and barriers that a woman would face?
Okay, of course, everywhere, whether in Jordan or outside, we know that us as women, we have to work twice as hard. We have to be aware of what we wear when we go to work or to a meeting. We need to look smarter than men. we need to really focus on what we're saying as part of the community, or even not only in Jordan, anywhere. So it's always a challenging thing. And of course, we do have challenges in terms of gender base. But again, I go back and say, first of all, we have to identify and ask ourselves always the right questions. What kind of support do we need from each other? What kind of support do we need from any entity or collaboration to put us better on a better networking environment and to elevate how we can interact with any business? Another part is we always say, and I always hear us saying about equality. We really have to define when are we asking for equality and when are we asking for justice, because these are two different items and they really matter, because we don't want to start sounding as always asking for the equality, because it is different from one part to another, and of course empowers knowledge and opportunity. But mainly I have to say, saying all this, of course there is a challenge where we have to educate the community on, and that education starts from the basics of the school. We have to find ways to put in a much better acceptance of women from the beginning of the education of our generations. And that goes up to the universities and by actually our team members and our staff. We do not have to only mentor them, and I'm sure the ladies are doing a great job in mentoring, but really the core of how they believe and in the equality and how do they see women is a very important part to be part of every company that we work in, as running it or only being a part of it, or making the new generations realize that this is not something that they can think of. The lastly is basically
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the last part, which is we work on, is basically access. Our platform as Gate to Pay is basically access to women in the digital payment side, where that will overcome a lot of barriers, to tell you the truth, and to put women side by side, whether to cross any boundaries in geographical location, or even if they want to expand to Jordan market or outside to US or anywhere else.
That's really, you're spot on with this. I know that, you know, there's so much that we can hear about from those wonderful ladies who are, you know, really extremely insightful. And we don't want the conversation to end here. We want to make sure that we continue with the leadership of Das Richardson and the work of Janae and her office. We can continue this conversation and link, you know, the audience with those, you know, Jordanian companies and others, hopefully. So I want to give the floor to Janae. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to have moderated this panel. And I want to turn the mic back to Natalie and Janae for the closing. Thank you again, and hope to connect you all through this program.
Thank you, Rose. And thank you to Sahar, Reem, Hadil, Maha. We really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules and sharing your insights on the Jordanian market. This has truly been a dynamic conversation, which we hope will be the first of many as we kind of work together to look for opportunities for partnership between US and Jordanian firms. For the participating US businesses, we hope that today's session piqued your interest in our market, that you're interested in learning more. You will find my colleague Lubna dropped the contact information for our team here in Jordan in the chat box. We also encourage you to touch base with your local U.S. Export Assistance Center to discuss how our organization can help your company, not only in Jordan, but the broader region. We look forward to hearing from all of you. And with this, I will turn it over to Natalie for the closing.
Thank you, Janae, and thank you to each of our speakers today for sharing your expertise and experiences with us. Thank you as well to all of our participants for your engagement, and we hope you'll join us for future Middle East and Africa chats in this series. Next month's chat will highlight opportunities in Ghana, and all who registered for today's event will receive information on those upcoming sessions. Really quickly, as this is a tech-focused event, we wanted to draw your attention to a digital transformation business development mission our organization is leading to Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Qatar this January. The purpose of this trade mission is to introduce U.S. technology firms to rapidly growing opportunities across the GCC region, especially targeting U.S. firms in cloud computing, infrastructure security, AI, and application software. You'll find more information on this mission, as well as a copy of the presentations from today in a follow-up email that will be sent to all of you. We'll also include information on funding opportunities to support your international growth, such as through the SBA STEP Grant Program. We look forward to working with you on your journey towards accessing the Jordanian and Greater MENA markets. Once again, for those in the US, thank you for joining us today, and may you all stay safe and well. ولضيوفنا في الأردن شكرا جزيلا لمشاركتكم ومع أطيب التمنيات لكم. مع السلامة.